Here we go on part 4 of our famously racist Steven Crowder and famously crazy Alex Jones. I'm talking about Black Lives Matter, and so far it's just been the normal crazy conspiracy theories by Alex Jones.
Well, it's also exacerbated by the fact that I want to get into kind of some local laws. So the mayor, $2,000 if you don't wear a fine, or if you don't wear a mask, right? Mm-hmm. Is that correct?
It's $2,000 per person in your business not wearing a mask. It's $500 last time I checked per person not wearing a mask.
Do they fine the business or do they fine the person?
They fine both. They fine the business $2,000 and they fine the individual $500.
Okay, yeah, there are some places that are fining people for not wearing a mask. The price of the fines, I don't agree with. They should be according to a person's wage. So, poorer person would, be fined a smaller amount compared to a more wealthier person, but it's comparable to the amount of money that they're making.
Wow. Okay.
That was as of a few weeks ago. He was threatening to raise it even more, but then he's been caught out and about and at events not wearing masks. He lives at the top of the W, but the 2 city council members that voted against defunding the police, they all got violent visits at their houses at night. And he says he supports it all. He says defund the police, and it's in the official budget that they are proposing to have a controlled demolition of the police department as a symbol of stopping police abuse.
Well, I want to...
Yes, and defunding the police would help prevent cops from being able to abuse people, because there would be less interactions of cops against people who have no need for the cops to be there, like with encounters with homeless people, the mentally ill, elderly people with wellness checks, various traffic violations that have not involved any type of deaths. There's a lot of things that can be done to help negate or prevent cops from being able to abuse people. Also with creating laws that punish cops for police abuses, as well as, removing qualified immunity from cops. All these things could be done to prevent cop abuses.
Ask you something, because obviously you're talking about we can keep walking so people haven't seen the side of the street. By the way, I like what they're doing there. You have Sacrament tattoo and All Saints tattoo. I see a little irony, little hipster irony.
And it's really bad over here if you want to cut over to the 7th. That's where the real...
Okay, we can cut over to 7th. Because obviously you talk about sort of people in power and organizations, and it's band.video, right? Band.video and
yes.
Infowars.com.
Hey, but Tim, when should we cut over to hit all the homo stuff? Maybe we should go this way, or you want to go this way? I'm not trying to direct you.
No, I'm fine. We can go this way. I don't care.
We can also go up a few blocks, cut over, and then go down. It's all bad.
Okay, let's do that. It's all bad. It's not like there's any lack.
One thing that I think is important to point out, that is, it wasn't that there was too much looting for the police to handle. The police were ordered to stand down.
They were ordered to stand down.
In fact, he used to be an ATD.
Is that by the city council? Is that by the mayor?
Why don't you come here and tell him? You want him on
Sure, yeah.
Here, Tim, tell him.
So, I'm a former APD officer, and for the last 3, except for this last one this past Saturday, that one was handled perfectly because they had so much intelligence coming in ahead of time. But when the George Floyd riots first happened, they honestly believed that the answer was to show support to the demonstrators, that would help keep the violence down.
The police were kneeling to them.
The police chief came out, kneeled down.
Not anymore.
Them, did everything. They did everything they could, and it didn't matter. They still broke into stores. They still hit.
Because pretending to be in support of people does not mean anything. It's like when the cops kill people and then they're like, oh, I'm sorry, it was a mistake. If you want to show some real support, start arresting cops for committing abuses instead of just pretending to be for people whenever they're mad enough to start a riot, which is a valid form of protest. When the system prevents people from being able to speak out, the last line of protesting is a riot. Because for the past few years, with Black Lives Matter protesting and stuff, cops have done nothing, the cities have done nothing, the governments have done nothing to stop the wanton abuses by the police. So this is what is going to happen. People are going to riot until something happens. When the U.S. Founders rioted and broke stuff, we're told that it was a sign of the desire of freedom and stuff, that it's a good thing that they're fighting corruption. But nowadays, when people fight corruption and there are riots, those people are considered evil criminal thugs.
Hit private stock, Target, all these different places, and now they've just emboldened them. In Seattle, Portland, everything emboldened them. So now they got so much intelligence in this over the last week before this past Saturday that
they were going to put men on top of the rooms.
They finally brought in enough officers to handle the situation, and more importantly, allow those officers to be proactive. Right, and that made all the difference. There wasn't a single business student. There wasn't a single person hurt.
And tell them what they were planning, though, that finally made the state and the city take action.
So what did finally?
Not a single person hurt. That's probably very doubtful. Especially if you got the testimony of all the people that have been attacked by the police during these protests, especially when they start off peaceful and you have cops tear gassing people, striking them with batons and other things, striking them with their fists and feet. When people do peacefully protest and then the cops come in and commit violence against them, you cannot blame the protesters for getting angry and committing acts of destruction towards property.
What they took is they got information in that there was going to be demonstrators that were going to be out there in gun trucks with armed individuals in the back of these trucks.
Yeah.
And those trucks actually showed up last Monday and started doing dry runs right here on 6th Street.
Blocking the road.
6th Street.
Really, yeah.
Blocking the road. They also got
like
information and had a picture of them deploying up in parking garages with rifles as snipers.
Wow, that's getting.
And I mean, if the place that these people are in allows for open carry of weapons, then these people doing what they're doing is not illegal. I believe this is Austin, Texas. Yes. And if I remember correctly, the open carry of weapons is not illegal. I find it amusing how these people are against weapons when it comes to people using weapons to help secure their rights or to help prevent police abuses. It's like when the Black Panthers started open carrying in California, as well as making their own militias and neighborhood watches to help prevent cops from abusing people by watching the cops. Republicans, like Reagan during the time, were all in favor of gun control laws to prevent that from happening. If you notice, gun control is targeted towards black people because the white supremacist system wants to prevent black people from being able to defend themselves while allowing racist white people to be able to carry weapons openly.
Like Detroit riots, my grandfather was in the Air Force. He was running reconnaissance,
right?
Because there were snipers on the rooftops. And I don't know if I would say that this has surpassed the Detroit riots because it was such concentrated violence, but it's definitely more at a national level. Now, let me say this. This is one thing where I think sometimes you and I disagree. I agree with what you're talking about, and obviously the funding from Black Lives Matter, very well funded, Antifa, the people who showed up yesterday. But I still think that a lot of these looters and a lot of this damage is not paid for and organized.
They're just opportunists.
Yeah, opportunists.
I agree with you, but.
Some of the looting and the destruction being committed is by white supremacist groups like the Boogaloo Boys, the Proud Boys. You've had some video clips of cops committing acts of destruction, like the viral clip of the guy with the umbrella smashing windows and stuff. That was a cop. You also have clips of cops in uniform popping tires and breaking windows and stuff. So I guess these cops and stuff are paid for by George Soros and the Democrats in order to defund cops as well.
But Soros and these groups and the media saying it's legitimate to loot and attack people, they trigger it, and then once it starts, that's how it runs wild. In fact, 3 years ago, we got secret George Soros documents that they confirmed were theirs, where Alexander Soros was running this main group that funds Antifa, and it talks about their mission is to go out and to get locals to loot and burn things.
Right.
God, he claims to have documentation of George Soros funding Black Lives Matter and Antifa. I would love to see this because I bet it's something bogus that he probably written up himself or got from like The Blaze or whatever.
Right.
That they trigger. So they're just the detonators.
Well, I don't even think that
You want to go maybe shoot something real quick in front of Willie, or just...
No, let's just keep going. Point out anything that's going on that there's a specific story, because it's you're showing me around your hometown slash shithole.
There are just homeless shelters basically on every corner here now.
And didn't they change the rule now where they're allowed to approach you physically to panhandle? So we want to loop around.
Yes, they can also sleep in front of your house.
Okay.
I don't know about aggressive panhandling. I know in some states panhandling has been considered free speech, like in Colorado. You can panhandle on the streets as well as sell wares on the street. The ACLU came in and sued Colorado for giving tickets for panhandling, since it is freedom of speech. Writing, either writing or a sign is no different than, you standing somewhere and asking somebody for help. Aggressive panhandling is considered a bit different, like approaching a person and asking them is usually frowned upon, but the cops don't do anything about it. If you have an issue with homeless people asking for money, well then that means you have a problem with people's freedom of speech, and you have a problem with people being in need. And if you do have a problem with people being in need, you need to do something to help instead of just complain, like what Alex Jones and Steven Crowder like to do. They want to complain about homelessness, yet do nothing to help solve homelessness.
And again, this just encourages people to take drugs and get their welfare check and then just camp out. Over by my office now, routinely, they just grill under the overpass and they're just camping out.
How do they afford a grill?
How do they afford a grill? Yeah, there are people that there are some homeless people that are on SSI or SSDI. They're either disabled or elderly, and being unable to afford bills, they go homeless. I was in that situation for a few years. I'm on SSI, was unable to afford my bills, so I became homeless. As well as panhandling is a good way of getting money to afford what you need. And then you also have people that will donate supplies and stuff to help people better survive being outside, because living as a homeless person is not as easy as people want to pretend it is.
Because they get all this welfare money and they panhandle.
Gosh, well, that's a sweet gig. If you can at least listen, you're homeless, but you have a Weber under an overpass. That's.
I'm thinking about moving into there. I'll just take some heroin, lay back, drink some beer, and watch.
Actually,
TV.
she just appeared on.
Yeah, because being a homeless person is just heaven. It's not like you're treated as shit by society, constantly abused and attacked by the cops. It's not high living being a homeless person, but for some people it's a lot less stress than living in a house. And for some people, they like to, because they're quote unquote off the grid preppers or whatever, But it's amusing the way society treats really poor homeless people that travel compared to the wealthier homeless people that travel like in an RV and stuff. The, older people who are quote unquote living in retirement or whatever and go around camping in national parks. You're still homeless, but those people are treated better because they're seen with more money. And when you're viewed as having money, you're treated better in society, even as a homeless person. That's why there are a number of homeless people that will travel around and make it appear that they have money, so they're treated with kindness when in a city.
On camera, Angela, who works with us, wonderful. She saw some people shooting up heroin the other day, just right here in Austin. I guess too. My question is, well, here's what happens. This is what really disturbs me. Just like you're seeing the Black Lives Matter riots, and I don't necessarily think the secret stuff with Soros is as important as the actual charter publicly from Black Lives Matter. When you start a movement that's complete abolition of the police and prisons and the nuclear family, to me that's enough because that's a set.
Black Lives Matter isn't about the abolition of the nuclear family. They're just if there's anything about the nuclear family with the Black Lives Matter, it's just the fact that people are wanting the idea of various types of families to be included in that idea of family, like a single parent, instead of just the traditional idea of a family of being a man, a woman, and 2.5 kids. Though if you wanna talk about the destruction of the family, we can talk about the destruction of black families by the system, since the system is really big on keeping black families from actually being families. It's one reason why the system is big on giving harsher sentences for black people compared to white people, and it's to help destroy the family. That's just one of the reasons. There's many reasons why the government loves mass incarceration of black people. I'm going to end this part here. Come watch part 5 later. Peace.